You know something? Voice acting for a video game can be a lot of fun. Think about it. You can scream and shout while chanting ridiculous phrases. On top of that, you make numerous grunts, groans, and other weird bodily noises. And if that's not convincing enough, most of the time you can use some funny voice to voice a variety of characters like an animal companion, spooky merchant, or even an alien invader. I gotta hand it to voice actors, it takes a lot to pull this off, especially in 10 to 40-hour-long video games. Voice acting can really help immerse you in the video game world.
And thanks for releasing me from the belly of that Full Metal meanie, am I right?
That being said, sometimes no matter how fun a game can be, if it has subpar or dare I say terrible voice acting, it can break that immersion and bring the whole game down. It's easy to gush about some of the greats, but let's give some spotlight to the hilariously bad and downright painful voice acting in video games. I won't be alone though. I will have Mando joining me in on the torture. Oh, Mando! Mando! Sweetheart? Oh, what's this?
Dear Ren, I'm busy. Toodles!
Well, poop. I guess I'm by myself for this video. All alone in this personal hell which I've concocted.
Jason!
What's that? An oddly delivered voice line from a David Cage video game? Could it be?
Hey Warren, it has been some time.
Oh, wow! It's my old pal Jason, also known as /star314. Will you help me with this daunting task?
You call this daunting? I ranked 288 Zelda bosses.
Yeah, so?
With a terrible microphone.
Levias from The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. There are two phases to this battle, the first being Levias and the second being Bilosite, with this referring to the first. It mentioned their names separately so they count as two different bosses. Levias is embarrassingly easy. It doesn't exactly defend itself when you try poking out its three eyes with your birds. And well, not much else really happens.
Oh, well, right this way, sir.
Can't believe that was almost 10 years ago. So if you need cringe microphone analysis, I got it right here.
Okay, so /star314 and I will be ranking the worst voice acting in video games.
Let's just hope we can agree on something for a change. Otherwise it'll be just like old times.
Well, one thing will be different, that's for sure.
Oh really? What's that?
Ta-da!
Whoa! I'm a chibi!
That's the magic of Mando. Alright, let's get started.
Warren, where's my feet?
We've been invaded.
Oh, good times. That's a nostalgic throwback. What a priceless gem. I miss those times at the arcade, pushing down on the foot pedal to jump from cover to shoot, shooting into the screen, losing stacks of quarters to this game, and...
She must be dead by now.
Oh, yeah, that.
Now I will admit, these light gun games have voice acting so bad, it kinda adds to the experience. Does that mean they are good? Oh hell no. But I do stand by it not deterring players from playing the game. Be honest, when you played these games at the arcade, did you really notice the horrible voice work?
Both you and this stinking castle can burn for all I care.
The devil must be beating his wife.
Who? Beating his what?
You probably haven't heard about this one. Arc Rise Fantasia was a JRPG for the Nintendo Wii. That's right, alongside heavy-hitting gems like Xenoblade Chronicles and The Last Story, we had this.
Do I detect some sarcasm? I trust you'll have no problems doing what I've asked.
Sounds like something I'd invite my college friends to if I had a basement studio and asked them to try voice acting for the first time. There's definitely a lack of urgency and focus with this voice acting, and experience too, can't forget that.
When a party fights together, everyone shares the same pool of AP.
I've been told that the voice work improves over time, but considering this is a 40-plus hour RPG, I don't think I'm going to subject myself to this torture anytime soon.
It could have been better, for sure.
Whatever. Don't forget that it's dangerous out there. We'll need to be well prepared.
Ooh, definitely rough. A few things I noticed. There's popping, some voice actors don't ever use the correct tone in their sentences, plus the worst sin, the voice actors don't ever seem invested. There's no hint of enthusiasm. It's almost like people off the street they picked up that weren't getting paid kinda bad.
We're not gonna lose so easily.
I definitely agree. This kind of voice acting was all too common during the infancy years of video game voice work, and Tales of Eternia is one of the worst contenders. It's so bad it just drags the whole game down. Also, similar to Arcrise Fantasia, is anyone giving a good performance here? This isn't like Baten Kaitos where it's hit and miss. This is painful.
To save the world, we need the greater Kramel's power. Won't you help us?
So this is a tough one, because at first I thought it was so bad it had to be intentional, right? Right? You listen to these clips and there's no way the voice talents weren't in on the joke.
But you will never, ever defeat me.
I remember the sequel being especially bad, and there's a small monster there that has such a terrible high-pitched squeal from ridiculous tuning when he talks that it's like, man, you struck gold with the heights of terrible voice acting.
What's even funnier is that this game recently got a remake, and I swear they redid the voice work and it's still terrible. Have a listen.
Let's see how good you really are.
Don't stop now, go on.
Warning, this is where ears should start getting covered because the sound chip in this game, whew, it's a doozy.
Everything looks so delicious, it's hard to decide what to buy.
I'll cut this entry some slack. I think the narrator does a good job. He has this nice warm tone that makes me want to grab some cookies and hot cocoa.
An old grandfather gnome sits contentedly on an old stump.
On the other end of the spectrum, we have this owl. How bad is he? He makes me miss Kebora Gabora.
Castle, I saw it all, yes I did.
It's a dark day in the Zelda universe if that possibility comes up. While I too will give it some leniency because this is really ambitious with the technology they were trying to do, they just weren't ready for it. Too overly ambitious. This is like trying to record onto video cassettes, but the world wasn't quite ready to have the quality for better recording devices.
Look at me, I'm a princess again.
Stop it! Don't open that door!
Okay, so let's be clear about one thing. I'm not talking about Umbrella Chronicles, the remake, or any of the newer games. As cheesy as some of the line delivery can be, there's only one true contender for horrible voice acting. And that's with the PS1 original.
What happened to Jill and Wesker?
There's a lot of classic mistakes there. The terrible voice direction, the compression of the sound, the list goes on. And I actually wonder something. I thought to myself how much music being put in would help the voice acting, but then they're speaking so quietly that the music would drown it out. It's one of those entries where you wonder if there's anything that's salvageable about this.
Here's a lockpick. It might be handy if you, the master of unlocking, take it with you.
And trust me, I know these quotes are fun to joke about. There are a lot of classic lines here that are as iconic as the game itself. But at the end of the day, this is still horrible voice acting, and that's why it's on the list. Next!
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
I'm the only one remaining.
This one reminds me of Tales of Eternia again in terms of not being enthusiastic, except there's an exceptional amount of tones that don't work with any situation. It sounds like something you'd find on a bad Saturday cartoon that would show up at midnight that nobody cared about, but would hope to scrape on by just to stay on the network.
Thank you. I'm glad to see you made it safely. Now it's time for you to die.
To make matters worse, it sounds like the entire game is done by maybe 2 different people. It never feels like characters are actually talking with one another. Rather, it's just a few people recording in a bedroom, but they can't be too loud because it might wake up their parents. It's a real shame because visually the game is incredible. But, you know the era. If you knew how to work a microphone and were available, you were cast to do voice work in a video game. Simple as that.
Uh-oh, I see there's a welcoming committee out for me.
What's going on?
At first, it was pretty difficult to choose which Mega Man game had the worst display of voice acting. We had 3 juicy choices: Mega Man 8, X4, and X7. So Mega Man 8 has Dr. Light fumbling over his words like he just downed a 5th of brandy before he walked into the recording booth.
Must recover all the energy immediately, Mega Man.
So that's definitely a contender. X4 had some awkward lines and goofy shouts.
I'm disappointed in you, Colonel.
So that too could be a novel choice. Still, Even when you combine both of these entries together, they can't compare to the atrocity that is Mega Man X7.
Well, this has become a real pain. I want a full explanation when this is all over.
This is a whole different league. I was looking through how the three main characters interact with the bosses, and did anyone give a crap? The tone doesn't fit, per usual, but there's bad writing and dialogue that sounds almost spiteful. Like the actors wanted to diss the voice director because he or she gave them bad pay or something. Either that or the voice actors must have been trolls and wanted to bomb this project. I can't think of any other reason. Regardless, why didn't they cash this in development? I wonder if it was a rushed deadline or something.
Whatever the reason, this just adds another nail to Mega Man X7's coffin to being one of the worst games of all time. The other games I can at least play on mute, but this?
Axel, you grow up Pepsi Boy, but I grow up Pepsi Boy.
Never.
Don't plan on running from this battle.
I'm a huge Dynasty Warriors fan. I played every Warriors Orochi, I played every Hyrule Warriors, every Samurai Warriors, every Fire Emblem Warriors, you name it. I think the only one I haven't played is the One Piece Warriors ones, but I'm getting off track. Turns out, Dynasty Warriors 4 was when Koei, the company behind this, was starting to get into a proper budget for the series, enough so that it branched off into the first spiritual successor series, the Samurai Warriors games. So, those games, Dynasty Warriors 4 and Samurai Warriors 1, was when they started to introduce a proper budget into everything, including the voice acting. However, before that was a world-class cringe fest for Koei with its voice acting for all to enjoy. So, enjoy?
Lord Cow Cow is approaching. He shall be here shortly.
I can't help but feel that Koei wanted to cut some corners and save money by just shoving talent in front of a mic. The animation is impressive, the writing isn't even that bad, but the tone-deaf delivery just results in one too many wooden performances.
Great King, flee!
For our number one choice, we had to choose an entry that was horrible on all counts. Audio quality, voice delivery, tone, all of it. Some of these games had hammy performances, but you could at least tell that some of the actors were having fun. You can at least hear an inkling of effort in games like Arc Rise Fantasia and King's Quest V. But this game is just dreadful.
What did you do, Nicole?
Our number one is Chaos Wars.
Haha, this lady is sleeping on the street.
I was thoroughly interested in why the English dub turned out so bad. But turns out I found a bunch of fluff, because if I found out myself I was involved in a project like this, I'd throw my name under a hidden floor in a bunker and nuke it, hoping it never sees the light of day. Again, out of curiosity, I looked at the Japanese dub and man, it's miles apart and actually sounds pretty good, tone-wise. Of course, I can't understand the words, but insert the necessary, the Japanese dub is better than the English dub anime generalization here, I guess. It fails on all marks, but I don't entirely blame the voice actors here. Someone had brought their family in, and imagine putting this material in front of resistant family members who wouldn't want to do this. It's not right. So along with the crime of the worst voice acting ever, the staff had brought in hesitant, inexperienced voice actors who clearly didn't want to do this. So with those two big factors, this is the worst example of voice acting of all time.
Stop it, Nicole. I can't move. Is anyone there?
So that's our list, and I must say, it got me thinking. Looking back on all of these games helps me realize how far games have come when it comes to voice acting. But more importantly, I think it shows the difference a product can bring when its team provides care for its material. If the voice actors are invested, if the writing is well thought out, and if there is actually voice direction given, we gamers are rewarded with some epic experiences in games. Sometimes, even if the voice talents themselves are having some fun, can make all the difference.
You've got to be passionate in everything you do. If you're not interested, then your audience won't be. The passion within you bleeds into your performance. Your tone sounds invested, editing your takes if you slip up, saying the words right, then the rest of it speaks for itself. This is /Star, signing out.
Hey, thanks for joining me for this list, /Star. It was a lot of fun to make, and we hope to see you again sometime. Alright, you can keep the chippy. Oh, wow! It's my old pal Jason, also known as Slash Star...
Ooh, definitely rough. A few things I noticed. There's popping, some voice acting...
Be honest. When you played these games as...
It's a dark day in the Zelda... It's a dark day in the Zelda universe if that possibility comes up. While I too will give it some leniency because this is really ambitious with the technology they were trying to do, they just weren't ready for it. Too overly ambitious, I
definitely agree. This kind of voice acting was all too common during the infancy years of
Too overly ambitious, I should say. Too overly ambitious, I should say. Too overly ambitious, I should say. Too overly ambitious, I should.
Mega Man.
Too overly ambitious, I should. Too overly ambitious. Too overly ambitious, I should say.
Also, like Arkwright.
Too overly ambitious, I should say. Too overly ambitious, I should say. Too overly ambitious. This is like trying to record onto video cassettes.
X4 had some awkward lines and goofy shouts, so that too could be a novel choice.